look underneath your plates or near your plate, and there's a handout there. And I brought this up. This is really very, very important for you to look at, and there's a reason why. And you're going to figure it out quickly. I've never done this before, but I'm at a point in my life where I've never seen anything like this before, and I think we need to make sure that we're all understanding of where we are here in the state of Connecticut and throughout the country. So as you all know, the rise in violent crime and gun crime has been absolutely heartbreaking since COVID. I will point out that in 2019, Waterbury had the lowest crime rate for violent crime that we had seen in a decade. COVID comes, schools shut down, state court systems shut down, Department of Probation, Department of Parole shut down. People are released early from whatever incarceration facility they're in. A lot of things happen. All of a sudden, crime rate starts going up. Juvenile crime rate starts going up. Last year, NV Cog and your mayors over here, along with Governor Lamont and others, put together what we call the Juvenile Task Force Bill to address the rise in juvenile crime, stolen cars, accidents, drive-by shootings, robberies, purse snatchings. The bill has been pretty effective, I have to say. We've seen a reduction in juvenile crime, although this morning, if you saw the news, 5 kids were involved down in Hamden and all kinds of craziness. But the truth is, it's always going to be there, but we have put more layers of accountability in on juvenile crime. The pendulum swung really far left on a lot of these issues, especially for those of us who have been in law enforcement for as long as I have, which is, 43 years. So we together, Luke Bronin, in all fairness, started this violent crime task force about 6 months ago, recognizing the impacts of violent crime in Hartford, New Haven, Bridgeport, and Waterbury. And we met for, oh my God, I don't know how many times over the last 6 months, organized by the Connecticut Conference of Municipalities, which I was the president of for 2 years. And Tommy Dunn is here with us now. He's the mayor of Wolcott. He's the president now. And before him was Mayor Bronin, who came in after me. But anyways, take a look at these. Take a look at these statistics. I'm going to have to go down here because the print on my thing is too small. But maybe I got it over here. I do. Good. So I just want you to look at this for a second, then we're going to move on. This is Waterbury. But New Haven, Hartford, and Bridgeport are no different. Actually, Hartford's worse. But look at the people arrested for fatal and non-fatal shootings while on pretrial release, otherwise known as out on bond, probation, or parole. 2021 in Waterbury, there were 31 individuals arrested for fatal or non-fatal shootings in our city. Out of those 31, 20% were out on bond, 20% more were out on probation, and 12% more were out on parole. So add it up. 52% of the people responsible for fatal and non-fatal shootings in the city of Waterbury were people with long records, violent records, felony records, firearm records. 20% out on bond, 12% out on probation, 12% out on parole. Move over to 2022. It's interesting, it's the same number, but 31 more individuals arrested for violent, fatal, or non-fatal shootings in Waterbury. 30% in 2022. 30% out on bond for other charges, 40% out on probation, 0% in 22 out on parole. What's happening here? What's happening is that you can't blame or even think it's the fault of the police officers in Hartford, New Haven, Bridgeport, or Waterbury. They're working 24/7, day and night, to keep us safe. They are as frustrated as I am standing before you, seeing these people coming in and out after they've been arrested with guns, drug possession, ghost guns, violent crimes. The laws have changed, giving more rights to those arrested than you all here in this room. The bond rules have changed. In the old days, you had to put up a percentage of a bond to get out of jail. It's different today. You can get out of jail putting up 7% of whatever the bond is set in court. 7%. And who's committing these crimes? People with more money than all of us. Drug dealers, bad people. These are the ones. 7%? Doesn't mean anything. They're out before almost before they go in. And this is troubling. But if you want to look a little further, flip your page over. Let's look at the victims. Who are the victims? Now, we've had some really sad cases in Waterbury over the last 2 years where innocent people minding their own business. One lady actually making a dress for her granddaughter at a sewing machine in Waterbury got shot and killed at her sewing machine. But I will tell you that many of the victims, as you're about to see, are people who are involved in a negative way with the criminal justice system. In 2021, in Waterbury, victims of fatal and non-fatal shootings while on pretrial release, probation, or parole, in Waterbury, there were 70 individuals who were victims of gun violence. 11% of those people were out on bond, 13% out on probation, and 3% out on parole. 27% of those victims were people who have been incarcerated or in the system. 2022, the number rose to 96, yet not unique to Waterbury. The number of gun victims across the country went up from 2021 to 2022. Who are those victims? 8% out on bond, 21% out on probation, 1% out on parole. 30% of those victims, 30% of them were people that have been through the system. Victims of fatal and non-fatal shootings with prior violent felonies or firearms convictions. You can read for yourselves. Out of the 70, you've got 40% on 21, and look at 2022, 45% with violent felonies, 18% with firearm convictions. If you look over to the right, you will see there are suspected people that were suspects in fatal and non-fatal shootings that have not been arrested. 8 of those individuals, 25% of them out on bond, 63% with violent felonies, 50% firearm convictions. Police are working 24/7, exhausted, spending time away from their families every weekend, holidays, you name it. They're working around the clock. So when you hear about crime in Connecticut or anywhere in the country, don't look to the police. Look to the legislature. Look to the legislature, because our task force came out with a bill. Governor Lamont has been supportive and is supporting the bill. Chief State's Attorney Patrick Griffin is supporting the bill. Fred Spagnola testified on the bill recently. we all sent in either in-person testimony or written testimony about what's happening in our communities, in our state. And if you think that this is not impacting the life in a suburban town or city in Connecticut, think again, because it is in a big way. We need to understand what's happening in our state. And, you know, at the end of the day, I'm hopeful that the recommendations that the Mayor's Task Force has put in the form of a bill that is being discussed this session, we will get some hard wins here. And the hard wins are basically that if you're out on bond, if you're out on parole, and you're out on probation, and you engage in gun violence, any other form of felony violence, your bond is revoked, your probation is revoked, and your parole is revoked. Period. But let me clue you all in. During the testimony, and you're welcome to look at it, and you want to look at it, you just call my office, and I'd be happy to plug you into it. During the public hearing, chiefs across the state, municipal leaders across the state were grilled by members of the Judiciary Committee, saying that we were coming down too hard, that these requests were not right, that they were targeting the wrong people. You want to watch it? I'll send you the link. It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. And I got to tell you, is that really the direction the state should be going in? I don't think so. And, you know, but people are afraid. Lawmakers are afraid. They're actually, honestly, some are intimidated to say what they really think. Others aren't sure. And then there is just the usual bureaucracy of government getting in the way. But the reality is we need to focus on what's happening out there on our streets. Innocent people are being harmed. And if they're not being harmed, folks, they're witnessing this kind of chaos on the street. And if you don't think that that's impacting their lives, think again, especially our young people. Especially our young people. When some young person, or not young person, sees another person shot in front of their very own eyes, they will never, ever forget it and always live with that fear. So I bring this to you today because you need to know. Now, we are hopeful that we're going to have positive negotiations on our bill, but I will tell you that, as hopeful as I am, I had a conversation just yesterday that was discouraging. That was really discouraging, with hard pushback from the chairs of the judiciary on some of our proposals, and it's really saddening to me, and that's why I'm here getting myself in a whole lot of trouble with all of you here today. So there's 400 witnesses to my trouble.